Good morning, guys. Today we're going to talk about something that I think is very important but is very forgotten in our day-to-day lives, and that's basically the messages that we are constantly bombarded with. Like, if you don't take time out to read your Bible every day or be in the Word in some way, then there are all these messages around the world that basically say the same thing. And that's that the Bible's wrong, or don't worry about it, just don't worry about it, just buy this thing or watch this thing, or you need food or you don't need food, or all of these weird sort of messages that don't mean anything. So I think it's important, one, to understand that we have these messages, and two, that God has a different message that's much more calm. So I'm going to be showing you two things today, and the first thing is that God does talk to us in a way we can understand. I covered this in my last video, but this is sort of a way to show you. So I'm going to read Isaiah 61:1 first, okay? And that says, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners." Now, this is talking about Jesus, and we can see that because Jesus later on in Luke 4:18 through 21, this is what he says. "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to claim the year of the Lord's favor." Then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him. He began by saying to them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." So that's Jesus talking to people at the synagogue. So as you can see, he used the Old Testament to talk to the Jews. And very often, guys, it's not really that God doesn't know how to talk to us. It's that we don't listen. We won't listen. We'd rather listen to the other message that's out there because it gives us money or food or clothes or a style or something, because we think it's going to get us somewhere, basically. And usually it does for a little while, but then it dies. So I think that's always important to remember. Now, something else I wanted to read. This other message, yes, that is going out amongst us and is trying to get us to be people who consume rather than people who give, okay? So let's talk about that a little bit. That's 1 Peter 5, and this is what I'm reading. 1 Peter 5, verses 8 through 9. "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, stand firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of sufferings." Okay, so I wanted to go through that verse a little bit, and we're going to break it down just a little bit and discuss it. Okay, so the word phrase for sober mind, okay, or sober spirit, sorry, is the word nepho, which means to be sober, calm, and collected in your spirit, to be temperate, dispassionate, and circumspect. And that Strong's number for that definition is G3525 if you want to look it up. So I wanted to bring attention to this section because these words, oftentimes we think of sober, we think of sober or drunk, right? It's either or. But really, sober really means this sort of self-control, or this thing where you're not automatically reacting to something. You're stepping back and you're thinking about it. Let's see. According to the definition, it's to be calm and collected in your spirit. So you're not upset. You're not freaking out. You're not automatically offended by something just because it's going on. Excuse me. We have this understanding of the world where right now everybody's offended about everything. It's like we have nothing else better to do. We can't stay calm and peaceful inside ourselves. So when someone else does something, it offends us, and then we get all upset, and then there's something to do there. Whereas God's always telling us you need to be sober, you need to be calm, circumspect, you need to be temperate in what you're doing. Now that can be difficult, but with God, we can do it. Okay, so I just wanted to cover that. We're supposed to be this sober-minded people, and that doesn't mean, frowny face, no fun people. It means people who don't automatically jump to the worst conclusion ever. We're not people who are passionate the wrong way. We're passionate for God. We're zealous for good. We want the positive things in life to be the ones that are propped up. Now, having said that, that means the biblically based good, the biblically based positive. So no abortion, things like that, okay? Abortion's never good. It's never something that you look for. So I just wanted to bring attention to these sections because it's really talking about a fully encompassing view of ourselves, our life, how we're supposed to view things. We're just not supposed to be jumping on whatever Christian bandwagon of offense is happening at the time, but really just step back and think about this, okay? How to really react about this. Is this something that we should be getting offensive? Should we be offensive in return? No, usually not. Usually what the answer is prayer and, if you want to protest, the peaceful type of protest. So just keep that in mind, guys. The word phrase here, prowls around, talks about the devil being a prowling, roaring lion, right? So prowls around, to me, I love cats, so I've done research on, lions. Have you ever seen a documentary about animals where lions, they wander around looking for food, but once they have the food, they eat it, they spend some time digesting it, things like that. They take a pause. It's not really, once they've done it, they then have other priorities to do, right? So I looked that up. And that word prowls here is peripateo. It means to walk, to make one's way, progress, to make due use of opportunities, okay? And the Hebrew for that, right, means to live, how you regulate your life, how you conduct your life, and how you pass on your life. So if you think about this in context, right, the devil is a prowling, roaring lion. So the devil doesn't just go find a Christian to devour and then sit back and take time to digest him. He is more like, how can I say this? He walks around constantly. Once he catches you, he doesn't take time to eat and digest you. He's always on this hunt. He never pauses. So once you're dead, he drops you and goes on to find someone else to continue with the lion analogy here. He's not the calm lion after he's gotten his prey. He's the lion who is constantly looking for prey. He kills, drops, goes on to the next one. It's how he lives his life. It's his lifestyle to be coming after us. If you wanted to look at a lifestyle like this, the devil's life is, I wake up in the morning, I devour a Christian, I go to work to try and destroy a Christian. I then get in my car to go to the bar to destroy a Christian. I go home and have dinner and I eat a Christian. I go to sleep dreaming about how to destroy a Christian. Like, you just took like a typical day there of someone, you put the devil in there, and that's what he's doing. There is not one point where he is not trying to distract us, to kill us, basically. There is no love for him, for us, okay? So you just have to be careful with that. A lot of times in this world, there is that message right there. Eat more, eat less. Do this, do that. Wear this, don't wear that. And, or then it gets flipped around. There's constant confusion out here as to what's right. Everything's cyclical. So as soon as you have the one thing, you have to keep up with it again and get something else, right? And we're just constantly running around, chasing our tails, chasing each other, trying to figure out, what can I do to look best and good and brightest, and how can I do this so that I and everything to everyone and all this other stuff. Just stop. What does God want us to do? Be sober. And that doesn't mean not be drunk. I mean, it does mean that. But in this case, what does it mean? It means to be thoughtful, to be prayerful, to be loving. As far as like clothes and things, God doesn't care. He cares about one, maybe two things. Okay, I should say it that way. He cares about two things. Are you modest, and are you dressed as a man or a woman? That's all he cares about. So this thing where we're chasing around the types of food, we're chasing around what this other person wears, what this other person does, it doesn't matter. To God, it really doesn't. I know here in America, there is a church culture where you have to dress up to go to church because you have to give them your best. God's idea of what is our best is our obedience. It is not our clothes. It is not the job that we have. God's idea of what is best is how you show you love him. How he is constantly saying that you show you love him is through obedience. Who obeys me? So I think that a lot of times we get these messages mixed into the church as well. We just have to be careful, be thoughtful about it. Don't automatically accept it just because it comes from someone in the church. One of the devil's greatest and best ways to get all of us is to have it come out of a pastor's mouth or a fellow churchgoer's mouth. In the eyes of God, we are all equal. And that being the case, we need to understand that all of these people in front of us are fallen. They have their own vices and everything else, and they can be wrong. So our views and our message should always come from the Bible. Our thought process should always be checked by the Bible. Don't ever worry about how it's going to be presented, because God will give you those words in that way. Don't worry about whether or not somebody's going to like you afterwards, because you know what? They probably won't. I know when I'm told that I'm doing something wrong, I don't like it in that moment. After I've had time to calm down, be sober, and think about it, I appreciate that person more because they had the tenacity and they had the guts, or they had whatever it was to tell me the truth. So just be thinking about that, guys, as you go along in your life, okay? I will be prayerful for all of you, anyone who watches this, and you guys pray for me too. And we'll have just a lovely day, okay? Until